I ended up being homeless, and I tried to get into like other shelters, but they were full. So I was outside for 8 months all over San Diego, and it was crazy. Path has been in my life for quite a few years. I got connected through them through a program called HVRP, because HVRP at the time wasn't offering housing, so they connected me with Path, and I ended up moving into their shelter, and then eventually I moved out of there and moved to VVSD because I was a vet. They've gotten me jobs, good paying jobs. I did security for 4 years. And then after that, I just got back into construction because it paid more money. Taylor's cool. She has dealt with a lot of things with me. She always keeps a smile on her face and keeps it genuine, like she's a true professional. I actually worked on this project. So while I was homeless, I was working here. We had like a bunch of people like rooting for us because they had to hire X amount of homeless veterans to work on this project to even get the grant. I just like the fact to know that I can go somewhere and be peaceful. I have somewhere I can invite people and be inside and use a restroom. I would have to say Path is probably like the #1 entity, and it was probably the best thing for them to do is to come to the city of San Diego. They accomplished a lot, for them only being here a couple of years, and they were already putting people in housing, permanent housing. This right here for me is better because I'm there by myself, and I don't gotta worry about nobody dirtying something up and not cleaning it up, which will drive me insane. But these sound like little things, but it makes all the difference.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Path's monthly Path Presents at the Forefront. I hope you enjoyed the video of Terry in their home in San Diego. They really showed us what it takes to get there. So this month, we're excited to present a special episode, The Path to Making It Home for Good. During this conversation, Path staff will reflect on what it takes to permanently house someone. So often people come up to us and ask, how do you help people get into a home of their own? What is the process? And how long does this take? These are the types of questions that we hope to answer today. If you've been joining us during our virtual series, you know that our At the Forefront episodes are so important for us to accomplish our mission, which is to end homelessness for individuals, families, and communities. And if you're new, we want to welcome you. This is our way of educating folks on the facts about homelessness and its causes. That way you all can be advocates with us for solutions to ending homelessness. So we know we'll always provide services. I say this every time. It's critical to help every unhoused individual on the street. But in order to actually end homelessness, we have to change the system that's causing it. And in order to change that system, we're continuing to engage our supporters on how these systems work. So today's episode will include a panel discussion with 4 of our staff members from across the state discussing their role in the housing process and sharing their experiences. We encourage questions from you all. If you have them afterwards, you can always post them and we'll do the best to follow up with you. Now, I'd like to pass it off to Tesha Uribe, our Chief Program Officer, who's going to lead our discussion with our staff panel. Thanks all again for being here.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'd like to start off with introducing all of the team members that we have present today, and then start the discussion about how somebody makes it home. So joining us today is Corey Stapleton from our San Diego Outreach team, Aiko Yep, who is our Director of Programs in San Jose, Charity Mustafa, who is the Associate Director of our Yale Navigation Center, and Jesus Torres, who is our Director of Metro LA Programs. Thank you all for joining us. So Corey, let's start with you. Can you help walk us through the beginning steps of someone's experience with PATH? Like, how are people referred to our programs, and what often is the first point of contact that we get with folks?
Sure. So as an outreach worker, we're here in the community, walking the streets, hitting the trails. I guess the first point of contact is literally making that contact. Somebody who's sitting on a bus bench, we just walk up and start a conversation. We'll try to build rapport by meeting their immediate needs, giving them food, water, and offering shelter. If they need something that requires a little more case management or time, then I would become hopefully their case manager and help them with that process, ultimately with the goal of getting them into housing, but we do so many other things along the way. That's the first point of contact, just meeting people where they're at. But for people to, I guess, get in touch with an outreach work or the PATH program, we get referrals from all different places, all kinds of people. Mostly, a lot of my clients are basically associates or friends of other clients I've helped. But we also have close connections with community members, advocates, and other nonprofit organizations. So I work closely with a few groups here in Pacific Beach that hand out food and do meal services at local churches. So I'll join them to meet people, but also I get referrals from the churches themselves and other volunteers there. The outreach team here in San Diego's got two parts. There's the rapid response team, which goes out to try to meet, our clients' immediate needs. And then the MHeart team, which is what I'm on, we do the more case management side. Depending on what's needed and, who is, in that area, we'll use different people to make different connections. I have clients who don't want to work with men, so we have women on the team. I've clients who are veterans, so we get them in touch with other organizations. I think the most important thing though is the consistency. When people on the street don't know where they're going to sleep or don't know what they're going to eat, to have somebody like me or my other coworkers be that kind of constant thing, offering support and resources, that's what makes the biggest impact, I believe. And that's the first step, getting in touch with us, and then we help them get in touch with all the other resources and organizations that they need to get in touch with. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing, Corey. I really appreciate it. And Aiko, I know that you have a ton of experience working with individuals experiencing homelessness throughout the state, and now you're in San Jose. So what does your team often learn about participants when we meet them? Like, what is the major cause of what leads someone to becoming homeless?
I think we often learn that people have experienced a myriad of both individual and systemic challenges which led to their homelessness. And we hear stories about people becoming homeless, escaping abuse, accidents resulting in unaffordable medical costs and disability, divorce and separation, job loss and the lack of livable wages, the death of a parent or spouse, mental health and substance use challenges, racism, ageism, fraud, aging out of foster care, and incarceration. But when reflecting on ourselves and the people that we know, how many of us know somebody who's experienced a medical emergency or a mental health crisis or has struggled with unemployment and are still housed? I think we find that ultimately the underlying unifying reason leading to people's experiences with homelessness is poverty, both financially and in social supports, where a familial community safety net wasn't available to support the person in times of crisis. And this is where our teams step in to support individuals with reconnecting with services, figuring out, does the individual have income? Do they have their ID? Do they have access to food and clean water? Do they have a housing subsidy? Do they have healthcare needs? And then do they have transportation to get to appointments? And we seek to break down some of the barriers that might exist in keeping a person from accessing interim and permanent housing opportunities. Charity, you are our Associate Director at our Yale Navigation Center in Orange County. So you really see what clients' needs are when they're coming off the streets and into temporary housing. What services does your team connect people to? What referrals and types of agencies are involved?
Thank you, Aiko. So once we have a guest come into our site, we try to cushion them with as many resources as possible. Some of these include medical. Our case managers make sure that we can refer them to a primary care provider, dental services. An optometry appointment is something that's also very common among this population. detox centers, and now COVID testing. So some of the agencies that we refer our folks to include CalOptima, AltaMed, Serve the People, KCS Dentistry. And then in regards to mental health, we refer them to county clinics. We also help our folks gather some of those identifying documents so they can make it home, right? So like General Relief, CalFresh, Medi-Cal or Medicare, there's Social Security, legal aid, so connecting them to the public defender's office or the homeless court. And these resources allow them to work on their active warrants. So some of them do have warrants when they arrive at our sites. Some more legal aid includes replacing some documents like the birth certificates, their IDs, their social security card, which are essential when we're trying to help them make it home. We also have employment services. We use Goodwill, Chrysalis. We help them get a free phone. Sometimes what might be a basic necessity to us is very important to them. So, and then of course, we also take care of their fur friends, right? So we have grooming services, we have vaccinations, and we also host on-site workshops for our folks. So that means our clinical case managers come up with workshops such as art, hygiene classes, any wellness class that will really help them succeed once they make it home. And so in reality, our goal is to cushion them as much as possible here at the shelter so that when they make it home, they have as much support from their community.
Thank you all so much for sharing. I think you hit on the key things as folks are connecting to services, is building the trust, treating a person as a whole human, and making sure that we really do whatever it takes for family members and all, and scaly family members too. Jesus, I would love for you to also share your role in regards to how you help folks find a permanent home. So how do you all locate a permanent home for someone? Where would somebody move to? How does this work?
Hi, thank you for having me. So when we're moving people into a home or even locating homes for people, that can mean a variety of different programs people can be enrolled into. We work with folks in our rapid rehousing programs, intensive case management programs, and we help them locate housing resources within the community. It can also be with one of our supportive housing sites at PATH. We utilize our LISA program, which works with different landlords throughout the County of Los Angeles to, they are there to advocate for the people that we serve and help them cut through some of the barriers that we usually do see and help them move into those homes. And these are within the community. So we want to make sure that people who are going into these homes are able to go to a place where it is safe for them. It is a place where they feel comfortable, where they can also be at a place that they can call home.
Lastly, what happens to somebody once they move into a permanent home? Do staff continue to support folks? And how do they support people during this pretty major transition?
Yeah, so with once we move someone into housing, it's not just let's move someone in and then they'll be okay. It's more about how do we continue to support them ongoing, ensuring that one, we provide the retention services so they reintegrate into the community, seeing where the closest parks, where the closest libraries are, so they have where they can build that community around them, but also meet with them in their homes a few times during the month to ensure that they're keeping up with their unit, keeping it clean. There may be times where people have not had a home for a number of years, so they may not know how to use the stove or may not know what cleaning supplies they may need to have. So going with them to the store to purchase those items, or even just going to the grocery store with them to see what kind of items they need as well. So they can have it in their home, knowing what kind of bills they need to pay, working to set up those utilities, and again connecting with them on a monthly basis to ensure that they're continuously able to pay for that, working with the landlord as well to ensure that they're building that good relationship with the landlord. If there's any issues with the unit, they know who to contact. And then also making sure that they have our contact information. So in case they do run into trouble or they do need any support at any point once they're in housing, they know who to reach out to. And they also know that they have a network of support once they move into the home, and they're able to connect with us, with the landlord, and they're also able to reintegrate into the community.
Thank you all so much for sharing today. You know, it's kind of like a puzzle where you're putting a bunch of pieces together. Thank you so much for doing whatever it takes and being there for folks. I'm going to now pass it back to Jennifer to provide some updates for the community and to talk about our upcoming fundraiser in November. Jennifer.
Thank you, Tesha, and to the whole team for really highlighting each stage of the process. I truly love working alongside each of you, and you might have heard Tesha say, doing whatever it takes. Internally, that's a big motto that we all follow, really whatever it takes to get a person into a home of their own. So huge thank you to you all. And I'd also like to thank our supporters for tuning in today. Your engagement in our mission means so much to us and really makes us, you know, it's that critical part to make us the organization that we are. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to the Golan Group for their support in producing this series. And then I'd like to invite you to our upcoming event. So Path Ventures Jazz Night. Jazz Night will be held on November 18th at 6 p.m. And you have an opportunity for either a virtual or an in-person event. The night will include a seated dinner. For those staying at home, it will be mailed event packages and a great concert for everyone to end the night. All proceeds from the event go directly towards building supportive housing communities and providing the ongoing services that are necessary that we all talked about today. So for more information, please visit www.2021jazznight.eventbrite.com. So thank you all for being here again today, and we hope you have a wonderful afternoon. See you soon.